Yeah, so for us, I think blockchain is a disruptive technology, and I think it's important to create new business models here. And there is also need of off-chain data storage. So you need data center that actually store this data securely in a high secure data center. And that's where we come into play. And we are also a validator, so we are actually validating blockchain transactions, and that's one of our goals as well. Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you for having me. Green was founded in 1995 as an internet pioneer in Switzerland, offering internet to everyone. These days, or in 2002, we started with the data center business, and today we are the largest data center provider in Switzerland. We are also, as you have heard, we are also a validator of Dragonfly, of the Dragonfly Blockchain in our data center. So within the next couple of minutes, I'm going to talk a little bit about this Dragonfly business model, and also explore some use cases. We have heard a perfect one with Richmond and the Lux ID application, but also talk about what's in it for Green, why do we do this, and why are we believing that blockchain is really disrupting the market. As you already have heard from Thomas, Dragonfly is really an exceptional blockchain solution, especially with besides the obvious features of a blockchain being distributed, increasing security, and also the unchangeable way of handling data makes it very efficient. And I think the Dragonfly is the most powerful blockchain. You've heard 100,000 transactions a second. This is needed for some use cases. And with this new model, this hexapod network that we are going to build here in Switzerland, we also make sure that the governance model in Switzerland is given. So when you quickly touch about the business model as such, we have this base layer, which is run by the validators, the Dragonfly validators in different data centers by different providers, mainly Swiss companies. On that blockchain, we are creating tokens every day, every second as a validator. And then there are two ways doing business. I have to say I'm not a blockchain expert, but I'm trying to see as Green how we could use blockchain for us, for ourselves, and probably for our customer. So I see two use cases. So one thing is that we as a validator, as Green, can provide an own service to our customers. So, or the other way is that we are providing the blockchain platform to partners who are willing to build platforms and build applications on that blockchain and offer it to the various markets that are there, and then obviously the users who are consuming those services. And with this hexapod network, I'm not sure whether you talked about it already or not yesterday. Yeah. So there are different roles in this network. So obviously there are validators. So every one of you, if you're interested, can become a validator, but then you have to run a node in a data center somewhere with all the legal frameworks, as Thomas has explained. But there are also working groups on top of that. Working groups can create their own application to build a solution, a service like the Lux ID, as we have heard. And there are entities that could run hackathons or provide meetups or whatever. And then obviously you have the end user who uses the blockchain service at the end. When you're talking about use cases, I see so many use cases where blockchain can be of value for a lot of businesses. It basically automates the business process, typically reducing the cost and the time to to go through the process instead of having it manually, do it automatically, using smart contracts so that the human error can be reduced. As you can see, there are a lot of use cases like voting, like everything about EID, digital identity, supply chain management. I just picked 3 that are relevant also for us as a data center provider. For green, as you might know, a data center consumes a lot of energy, a huge amount of energy. So for us, buying and selling energy is important. And if we can do that in a transparent manner and we know exactly where the energy is coming from, we can also push to increase renewable energy much further because we know exactly where was the energy produced and by whom. And at the end, that will increase efficiency, reduce cost, and we can do it without the middleman in between that charges money for it on top of it. A second use case is a digital marketplace. Green wants to become the digital ecosystem and the digital marketplace in Switzerland, where all the digital transformation can happen. And we work with a lot of partners. We have a lot of companies working with us, providing services out of that ecosystem. And it would be perfect to have a digital marketplace where buyer and sellers can come together and transact easily without, a middleman in between, complex processes, just also with the smart contract idea at the end. The third one, I think it's very important for us as a data center provider. As you might know, you have with blockchain, there is also the idea of have off-chain data. So if you think about the digital assets that you have today and you want to protect them in a safe way, you need a data center to do it because it's a digital asset, it has to be protected. For instance, we already save and store digital tokens and coins in our data center. In the 4th sub-basement on this data center, it's one data center of ours, it goes 5 floors down, and there are cryptocurrency in EMP safe racks, protected that they cannot be stolen or damaged in any way. But there are other digital assets like virtual real estate that might be off-chain stored, or art, like digital paintings or music or videos. But also healthcare data is very sensitive as well and can be a huge amount of data. And also research might be another one. I think the off-chain data is important and it needs to be protected in a hyper-secure data center somewhere. And at the end, we want to reduce the risk, fraud and theft of these digital assets. So I'm coming to my second last slide. I believe that blockchain is disrupting the market as we know it today. Think about, having a ride sharing without Uber in the future, or booking your vacation without Airbnb, having a payment transaction without the bank, or buying land or a house without the notary, online shopping without Zalando, and you name it. There are many more examples. So spread the decisions and the revenue across many shoulders and not leave it to the big powerful organizations as we see today. The challenges before was always the scalability, how we could do all the transactions, in so short amount of time. Another challenge was the legal framework that was not there. And I think with Dragonfly and with this with this network that we are providing here in Switzerland, we can actually avoid those risks together. So what's in it for green, and why are we doing this? I think I explained a little bit with these business cases. So we want to support blockchain projects. We want to protect the security or the digital asset in our premises, on our premises. We also provide infrastructure as a service for partners to run those applications on it. We want to store off-chain data, as explained. Maybe we can also make money with licenses, for using the platform, licenses in selling tokens, gaining benefit of having a digital marketplace, and end of the day, creating value for customers, for partners, but also, end of the day, also for green. So I believe that blockchain is really a disruptive technology and has the potential to change the way how we store and how we transfer data in the future. There is a study that we participated with on this QR code. You can download it from our website. It's very interesting read about basically blockchain in financial industry. It's a really good paper. I could just recommend it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Marco. A little question from my side. I had the pleasure to visit one of the data centers. Are there opportunities in the next weeks or months to also have a visit? Because it's not just a bunch of concrete, it's high-tech inside, it's a logistic that is top notch. But maybe if you have the idea to invite people for a visit, I'm happy to help, because I was very impressed about also the contingency measures they have. They have these diesel generators, Schiffsmotoren, also incredible safe. And one fact maybe I have to add here, it's not just about concrete, it's not just about infrastructure, it's critical infrastructure. The Swiss 2 years ago or so, they categorized these kind of buildings, data center, as critical infrastructure. And maybe my friend from can add here something.
I'm an amateur, but I was invited by Reto. I was a former diplomat, and I'm dealing with security aspects. What I'm asking you now, because what we heard, you just mentioned critical infrastructure of this data center. What I learned from cryptocurrency, it's a hell of energy. And as we see in parallel in the real world, you see what is the problem about generating energy. You know, I don't talk about blackout, but that's a specific topic. But everybody, even here in Switzerland, talk about energy and how can you make this sure. So you talk about diesel generators, that's nice, but that will be not sufficient in order to secure what you have. That's the first question I have on that. And the other one is the legal aspect. I learned that you say Switzerland is the platform, but is it anyhow in this business interconnected with legal frameworks of the European Union, of the US, or whatever? Or is it disconnected and it's only a wish by the others to get more, let's say, the legalization of the cryptocurrency and whatever has to do with blockchain?
So to your first question, so as I said, I'm not a blockchain expert, but as I know, we know it's differences between blockchain mining, where you need a lot of energy, and that's something it's not done in Switzerland. So typically there is not mining happening in Switzerland because energy is too expensive here in Switzerland. So what we are doing is we're just storing the data that doesn't use a lot of energy to store a token or a coin here. And we make sure that it's not gets stolen and not damaged by an EMP signal or something like that. And then we try to, we build the data center as efficient as possible to use as less energy compared if everyone else would do it by themselves, for himself. And the second question about the regulation. So we are following obviously every regulation about GDPR in Switzerland. I don't know too much about other regulation in terms of blockchain, but we are fulfilling all the standards what by law is regulated in Switzerland.
Maybe you can add to the energy question, the Dragonfly blockchain, it depends on which consent mechanism is used. And the Dragonfly blockchain has a proof of authority consent mechanism, so allowing them to say the energy consumption is really very, very, very low. Okay, Bitcoin is a bit different.
Sorry, it's Richard. I have a question about the Dragonfly validator business model. Obviously, I need some Dragonfly tokens to execute transactions on the blockchain. Who has what incentive? What's in it for the validator? And how do I get these tokens?
So there are two ways. So one thing is you can become a validator yourself, and then you validate and you create and become tokens for it, and then you can use it yourself and do an application using those tokens. The other thing is you can buy it on the marketplace from some of the validators that are already in that ecosystem. And to run a validator node, you need a mainframe or an infrastructure, and need those things. But that's what we are here for, to see how we can onboard other companies who are interested to work together with us. And we are providing the legal framework. We're making sure that the validator is the blockchain is distributed good enough, but not too large. I think probably Tom can explain much better than I do how we can set it up.
So I had a question. You said that you're storing off-chain data in your data centers. So I was wondering how, if it was on-chain data, how do you put it off-chain?
You mean technically? Yeah, I don't know.
If the data is going to be on-chain, it's going to stay. So how do you protect it? Because if it's on-chain, it's going to stay on-chain, no? You cannot put it off-chain.
Maybe I will answer that shortly. So we have an IPFS framework beside of the blockchain. So we run not only like the blockchain himself, so we run also IPFS nodes and provide this as the off-chain storage finally. Of course, there's also the opportunity to use something like S3, then super private, but in general, the most of the use cases by today using the IPFS. And there we have in green in 3 different geolocations IPFS cluster, and yeah, it's highly available IPFS storage finally. This is how we store off-chain data.
Yeah, a small comment from a lawyer. You should not fulfill GDPR because GDPR is the European data guidelines. You should fulfill as a Swiss company the Swiss data protection guidelines. But in addition, according to your users, you should take care of the data protection in all countries where you have at least users coming from to fulfill it. Because GDPR is not covering everything, just as a small remark.
Okay, thank you for addition. I think that's great. Thank you very much, Marco. And we're going to go to another business case as a, yeah, sorry.